the Builder, better known to the peoples of the North as Bran the Builder, was a legendary hero of the Age of Heroes and the founder of House Stark of Winterfell. He is remembered as the forefather of the Kings of Winter and one of the greatest figures in early Westerosi legend, held up with the likes of Lan the Clever and Garth the Gardener. There are countless legends and tales that have been passed down through generations that speak of his skill in engineering, architecture and magic, crediting him with the creation of some of the greatest structures ever built in Westeros, including the Wall, Winterfell, Storm's End, and perhaps even the Hightower of Oldtown. His story and the works he left behind are renowned all over the known world, even in the farthest reaches of Essos. While these accomplishments have secured his place in northern lore and canon of the Dawn Age of Westeros via the Songs of the First Men, there are maesters of the Citadel and other scholars that regard such tales with skepticism to varying degrees. Many believe that the deeds attributed to Brandon may be embellishments of history, perhaps the achievements of several ancient kings merged together through the mists of time into a single mythical figure that we now know today as Brandon the Builder. Given the nature of these kinds of pseudo-mythical figures and the timescales involved, this is not an unreasonable position to take. Thousands of years ago, Brandon the Builder had raised Winterfell, and some said the Wall. The Thoughts of Bran Stark, A Game of Thrones Chapter 24, Bran 4. Given Brandon the Builder is said to have lived during the Age of Heroes, an era where myth and history intertwined, much of his history isn't firmly established, and very much depends on the versions of the legends you are discussing. According to Legends from the Reach, he was a descendant of Brandon of the Bloody Blade, a legendary figure in himself, who was said to be the son of the legendary Garth Greenhand, the First Men High King, whom led the First Men across the Arm of Dawn, settling in the Reach. Again, there are suggestions that Garth was effectively a pseudo-godlike figure in some tales, living well beyond the normal human lifespan. Some tales frame Bran the Builder as the son of Brandon of the Bloody Blade, which would make him the grandson of Garth Greenhand. Brandon of the Bloody Blade is credited with driving giants away from the Reach and warring against the Children of the Forest, slaying so many at Blue Lake it became known as Red Lake. Given his father or ancestors were active in the Reach, it would explain why there are some tales of Brandon the Builder with origins outside of the North. One of these stories from the Stormlands tells that as a young boy, Brandon aided Daron Godsgrief in the construction of his mighty fortress Storm's End, the great castle that was said to have been raised in defiance of the very gods themselves. Thus, some also include Storm's End in the list of Bran's accomplishments. Names such as Brandon the Builder, Garth Greenhand, Lan the Clever, and Daron's Godgrief are names to conjure with, but it is likely that their legends hold less truth than fancy. The writings of Maester Yandel on the Age of Heroes, the World of Ice and Fire, Ancient History, the Age of Heroes. Most legends of Bran come from the Age of Heroes, and the North in particular. One claims that Bran, along with the help of the legendary Children of the Forest, the Giants, and the earliest incarnation of the Night's Watch, built the Wall after the long night had finally ended. The Wall is a marvel, stretching for 300 miles and is approximately 700 feet tall, made of solid ice, stone and earth. It's also claimed that spells and magic are woven into the wall itself. The main purpose of the structure was to protect the kingdoms to the south of it from the dangers that lie beyond, specifically the White Walkers, but in more recent times the Wildlings, the ancient First Men, whom just so happened to be the other side of the wall when it was constructed. The wall has not properly fallen for thousands of years since it was raised. According to the ballads in Maester Chillard's Winter Kings, or the legends and lineages of the Starks of Winterfell, in order to meet with the Children of the Forest when first planning his construction of the wall, Brandon was first taken to a secret place now lost to time. He could not comprehend what the children were saying, but he eventually learned enough of their language to understand them, the true tongue as some of the stories name it. Much of the detail of this meeting has now been lost to the ages, but the relationship was formed, and thus the wall as we know it came to be. It's hard to say which of Bran's constructions is the most important and well known, but Winterfell is certainly among the most important of them. Winterfell, the seat of House Stark, the once legendary Kings of Winter, much like the Wall, Bran was aided in the construction of Winterfell by the giants and possibly even the Children of the Forest, which might help explain the sheer size of the castle. The location of Winterfell also shows the sheer knowledge and intelligence of construction Bran possessed. The complex was built around a large godswood, within it its own hot springs. The warm water from these springs was piped through the castle walls, keeping the interior of Winterfell warm and pleasant, even during the harshest of winters. Given the sheer age of Winterfell and how it was expanded over the millennia by subsequent Kings of Winter and Lords of Winterfell, it's unclear how much, if any at all, of Brandon's original structure is left standing today. Every single King of Winter and Lord of Winterfell descends from Bran the Builder. It is said that he gave Brandon's gift, a stretch of land 25 leagues wide south of the Wall, to the Night's Watch, though some maces argue this was done by another Brandon of House Stark much later. The gift was supposed to allow the Night's Watch to be self-sufficient as an organisation, which it was for a long while, but as the ages passed, the effectiveness of the gift lessened, and thus the fortunes of the Night's Watch itself began to slowly and steadily decline. No one can say for certain if Bran the Builder ever lived. He's as remote from the time of the novels as Noah and Gilgamesh are from our own time. George R. R. Martin on Bran the Builder. Some lesser-known tales of Bran the Builder claim that King Arthur of the Hightower, one of the earliest kings of House Hightower, is said to have commissioned Brandon to design the stone Hightower at Oldtown. Prior to this, the Hightower was a much smaller construction, made purely of wood, on top of the mysterious black stone fortress on Battle Isle. Others contend that this feat was accomplished by Brandon's son, who shared his name. But the sheer scale of the Hightower does fit with the other claimed works of Brandon, such as the Wall, Winterfell, and Storm's End. Though revered as a founder and a craftsman, Bran the Builder is less celebrated in songs and stories than the likes of Lan the Clever, the cunning trickster said to have founded House Lannister. And while the works and impacts of Brandon cannot be understated, they don't make as compelling ballads and songs as the likes of his peers during the Age of Heroes. That's why today, he is mostly revered and celebrated in the North.